It's a rainy day here in the DFW area, so a little sad country music felt appropriate. But we're not sad here, we're happy. Hello, everybody. It's Terry Bennett. Sideline to Sideline, brought to you by SIDesign and Printing, right here on the S2S Network, part of the L4 Media Network. It's a lot to say, and it's going to take some time to get used to, but I'm happy to be saying it. This is technically our first video that we're doing for Sideline to Sideline. And now I know you might be seeing the banner behind me. And yes, that is a banner. That is not a green screen. I'm trying to figure out which way to turn. That is Outdrink the Coverage. That's the show intern Noe and I do. And the reason it's up right now is because we're going to be doing a special episode today. It's just me, and I'm going to be interviewing our new title sponsor. Or I should say the owner of our new title sponsor. The new title sponsor, of course, being SIDesign and Printing. The owner being Kyle Robarts. He's had a long career in SID work for colleges, hence the name SIDesign. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about his company and exactly what he does. And I put the banner up because that's one of the banners he did for us. And these are absolutely outstanding. I don't have a picture of the banner for the S2S Network L4 Media, but I have a picture of the sideline one that's actually up on the wall right now. But here's a better picture of it. I just put it up on the wall right now to get it there. I'm going to redo the set. We're redoing the set multiple times as we figure out how we're going to do this, because a lot of this is on video now. And that's one of the big changes that we were making is that we went to video, if you don't know. Now, we're still going to be on every podcast platform. You can find all these shows over first right now at S2SSport.com. We're also going to have a Sideline to Sideline one as well. But all the Sideline to Sideline shows will be added on the Sideline to Sideline podcast feed and the S2S Network podcast feed. Same way we used to do it all the time over at the old network. And so what today is I'm just going to talk with Kyle. We're going to talk about his company, SIDesign and Printing, what he does, what he can do for you as if you're a coach, an athletic director who's listening, if you're a youth sports organization guy, if you're a coach, or I know a lot of them now have general managers, he can do things for you there. If you're just a company that's wanting to get new signage and to modernize your look and your logo, he can help you take care of that. And so that's what this episode is going to be here today. And it's also kind of a way that we're working out some of the kinks, again, of doing these shows. Now, speaking of Outdrink the Coverage, intern Noe and I come out of dry dock this weekend, and we're going to record 3 episodes for the upcoming weeks. Now, the way we're going to do that is we're going to record an episode that's kind of an up-to-date on the NFL. Like this week, we'll be talking about free agency, the Cowboys making a couple trades, signing a couple players. We'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about the league signings and stuff like that. And then on the next episode, it'll be recording. We're going to be talking about different years, different great memories, great teams, great games. The first episode of that one is actually going to be just how intern Noe and I became NFL fans and Cowboy fans and college fans too. Because remember, this year, we're going to have an Outdrink the Coverage college show as well. And then the third episode, and I'll be honest with you, this is the episode in the offseason that I'm looking forward to the most for Outdrink the Coverage, is we're going to be talking about a sports movie or sports TV show. Now, we're going to start with what is our favorite show, intern Noe and I's together, watching as far as football and baseball and all that, is The League, which is a show about fantasy football. And it's also not about fantasy football, but it's funny. If you haven't even watched it, check it out. Ran for 5 seasons. You can find it over on Hulu. We're going to break it up by season. So the first episode that we're going to be recording this week will be about season 1. And it'll just be a retrospective, what we liked about it, what we didn't, how the show grew, best episode, worst episode, favorite storylines, and just our overall general views of the show by season by season. So the way our off season is going to go for Outdrink the Coverage is it's going to be April, May, June, July, and August. That's off season. And then once September rolls around, we'll be back to our weekly in-season shows that we'll be talking about all things NFL and Dallas Cowboys. Here's that, by the way. You can see it behind me, of course, but here's the banner, how it looks. Absolutely wonderful job. Even doing the brick. First off, our design guy, Wesley, did a wonderful job designing the new logo. And then Kyle and SIDesign and Printing did a wonderful job of making that banner. I did want to point something out on Sideline to Sideline that's pretty cool. Look at the new banner. And look what we have below. That's right. Coach X has made the banner. He is officially part of Sideline to Sideline. It only took him about 10 years before he finally took the intern tag off. No comment about when we'll take the intern tag off of Noe, but yeah, we wanted to surprise Coach X with that. So Coach X is now on the banner. Again, Wesley did a wonderful job designing our logo, and Kyle did a wonderful job designing the banner. Could not be any happier with the banner. And as soon as we get the one for S2S Sport Network and L4 Media, it's a single banner with both of them. We'll definitely put it up on Facebook because it's absolutely awesome. And you can check them out if you're a coach and you're or media member. And if you're going to THSCA coaching school in July, we do have a booth there, and we'll be able to proudly show these banners, and we cannot wait. Again, find us on all podcast platforms. You can find us on YouTube, L4 Media. Just type that in, it'll show it. You can also find us online, www.s2ssport.com and www.outdrankthecoverage.com. All right, we're going to take a break, which might not actually be a true break. It might just simply be editing right back into it. As Kyle Robarts of SIDesign and Printing joins me to talk about his company and about being title sponsor here on the show for 2023. All right, Terry Bennett back here on Sideline to Sideline, brought to you by SI Designs and Printing. And by the way, we're now joined by the man who runs it all, Kyle Roberts. And first off, Kyle, thank you for being title sponsor of Sideline to Sideline. But before we get into all that, just tell us a little bit about you and your company.
Let's see. Well, I worked in college athletics for 16 years, left in August of 2021, but I actually started the company in January of 2012, kind of as a side hustle. At the time, I worked at McMurray University in Abilene. It's a little Division III school, and there was a need for creative people who could make things work on a budget, because those familiar with the small college atmosphere, a lot of people wear a lot of hats, and you still want to recruit and bring in people to have successful programs. And sometimes, that takes money and giving the appearance of it being a great place to be. So that's kind of where it started. And in my journey, I've left college athletics a couple of times, and this has kind of been one of the things that I'll fall back on. And when I left I worked with women's basketball the last 3 seasons at Baylor of Coach Mulkey's tenure there. And then when she headed to LSU, I made the jump as well. And at first we started into real estate. I've got a few house rentals, and we were flipping some. And then as the market shifted, I kind of have found myself, whether by necessity or by luck or by hard work, kind of heating this back up again. And so it's been a lot of fun. The second go round, I've really focused more on the facility side of things, but I used to be heavy into like media guide design and posters and brochures, but there's not as much of a need for that anymore. Everything's social and stuff like that, but also a lot of schools want to do creative things with their facilities. And once again, I try to keep the small college folks in mind and work on a budget with them.
Well, and I like what you say on your website. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting in today's world is you basically were like, hey, you don't have to have an in-house operation. We can do that. And it's funny that you talk about that, because that's one of those things that when the economy's going good, everybody will have that kind of stuff. They're happy to hire those. But as soon as things start to go kind of bad, those are usually the first things that get cut from the budget. You provide that alternative of, we're a project by project type of client for you.
Right. That's a goal of mine. And I think I might be a little bit ahead of the curve on that, unfortunately, and fortunately for me. Hopefully people think of me when they start to go that direction, but people very much, especially at the Division I level, really feel like they need to have their graphic designer in-house so they can walk down the hall and knock on the door and get what they want. My program is called Don't Hire a Graphic Designer, that specific service. And I've had a school that I've worked with for 8 years. It's the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, and I've been their primary graphic designer from Texas for the last 8 school years. And, At times, no, I can't turn around something same day, but many times I can. But we have a working relationship that we keep our timelines organized and we know when things are coming up. And, the cost of maintaining creatives in the sports industry right now is pretty high because it's a high turnover. People move a lot. And so I'm just trying to convince people. I've got some other designers that are willing to work as well. I'm trying to convince people that we can do it all in-house without having to pay benefits and insurance. We can do it for you right here. And I've got obviously the experience working in an athletics office to know what the demands are.
Well, and you were talking a little bit earlier about, schools are wanting things with their facilities. Like I'm showing right now, Sabine, they did a couple things like the door wrap. And I've noticed more and more over the last 4 or 5 years that things like the door wraps and things, that's becoming more prevalent at all levels of high school. A few years ago, you wouldn't see that. And now almost it's a who's who of high schools. They all have that kind of logo and artwork. And I know it's cliche, but that kind of stuff, that it helps motivate players as they walk through those doors.
Well, obviously, like from the college perspective, you're trying to attract people to your campus.
Mm-hmm.
At high school, it's kind of where you're born, where you live, where your house is the school district you go to. But at the same time, everybody wants to create a good culture and an atmosphere for their student athletes at any level. So I'm very much trying to break into the high school scene, and I'm thankful. Sabine, it's pretty much been my first high school coming back in. This is really the second time I've kind of done the facility thing. The last time was 2015, 2016 before I got back working at Baylor. And this time around, yeah, I really would like to knock down some high school doors as we get this going again.
That's what we hope to be here for you. You're going to be title sponsor of our 3 sideline shows. I'll put up the sideline banner. I haven't really put it up in studio, but that's it right there on the screen. And then behind me is our Outdrank the Coverage. And I thought it was kind of interesting. You did 3 banners for us, and we've got the traditional long one and the sideline to sideline one. But then the one behind me turned out to be a square banner, and it accidentally or perfectly turned out to be perfect for when I'm doing solo projects on Outdrank the Coverage. It sits right behind me. And it almost, I've had 2 people when they saw it ask, how did I get the green screen? And I'm like, that's not the green screen. That's the actual banner. That's how good the quality is on this.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. And you guys have got a creative designer making your logos, and I'm glad it's working out for you.
Well, and a good example of what you can do is our designer doesn't do it in the traditional ways that you do, as far as, and I'm not even going to try to get into it, but the PDF files and stuff like that. But you were able to work with him, and that you're not just you have to do it my way. You will figure out ways to work around the issues that, a client might come to you and not have the same type of system that you do.
There's a lot of technology now to help with stuff like that. The best is when a business gives you their business card and wants you to blow it up to the size of a billboard. That's pretty tough to do for anybody. So I can't turn water to wine there. But yeah, we can make some things look good.
So I have to ask you, as an SID, what was the fun parts of that job?
Well, we talked about it offline a little bit. I'm old enough that I started before social media, right? My first job, I went to Abilene Christian, and right across the street was McMurray. There's also Hardin Simmons there. So there's 3 universities in Abilene, and I graduated in December and had the job at McMurray in January of 2006, and I was 22. I had 19 sports by myself, and I just went to work, and we didn't have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I was building our athletics website, coding it HTML straight. And now, of course, there's a monopoly with a company called Sidearm that does most of the college athletics websites. But it's evolved. I guess you asked me what was fun about it, but it's been interesting, and probably why I'm sitting in this chair now, to see the actual work of sports information, preparing the media to know about your programs and your players, and how much work that took. And then they've just added to the workload without taking away the other job responsibilities. Once I got to the Big 12, there were 8 of us.
Yeah.
So you can shoulder the load. And like when I worked with a Hall of Fame coach like Kim Mulkey, women's basketball demanded as much time as 19 sports at McMurray did. And a lot of that has to do just with the interview load. And I never was a primary football person at the Division I level, but I can only imagine the amount of media requests exponentially increases there. That's why there's usually 3 people just on football at the Division I level, if not more. Sometimes in the SEC, there's even more. But at the end of the day, like, the enjoyment is the relationships with coaches and student athletes, and then getting to see them do well. I know a lot of SIDs who worked at places where really nothing ever went well as far as on the field. But, we won a national title in 2019, and I got to cut the net down, and we had some good successes at McMurray and Abilene Christian. And the year I worked at St. Edward's in Austin, that, all their programs were pretty strong for the most part. So it makes it easier when you've got some success to work with. And I've been, with some programs that didn't do so hot, but for the most part, it's been fun just because I happen to be around successful people.
You bring up a good point though, talking about you got to cut the net down. And I know when somebody will win a national championship, or a pro sports team will win a world championship or a league title, whatever you want to call it, per sport, and they'll give out rings to a lot of different people, and people on the outside will be like, well, why did they get a ring? If you're not part of in the middle of it, it doesn't matter if you're playing, coaching, SIDing, broadcasting, you're still part of that, and you live the ups and the downs day to day, and develop those personal relationships with everybody that's there, not just the players.
Well, sir, I've never been. There are others in my previous industry that would call themselves national champions. I never went that far, like the players and the coaches. But yeah, I mean, I traveled every game with them. I was at almost every practice. You're with them all the time. They have at the Division I level what's called a travel party. So in addition to the players and staff, which, staffs are really big at the Division I level, there's 8 full-timers. You've got your trainer or 2, your sport administrator, guy like me, SID, then you've got your video and creative person. There's usually kind of like a travel party, and they're kind of the ones that are included in that, getting to reap the benefits of national championship.
Client is interested, and you said it best. You can't always guarantee turnaround time. But what average time? What would you say on a regular project is normally for you? For like with us, I'll just give an example. You started talking designs of our banners last week, and then I got home Monday, and as I was pulling it home from being out of town, literally FedEx was there with our banners within 7 days.
Yeah, well, there's a certain line of products we offer that once we upload the artwork, you can have it in 48 to 72 hours. So it doesn't matter where you are. I mean, most of my clients are out of state, not in Texas. So I have to have that capability. It's a loaded question though, because, you've showed pictures of my wall wraps and stuff. Yeah. That's a whole different animal. If you're needing like a banner and stuff, that stuff can happen pretty quick. Yeah, you already got the bank up there. I finished that one yesterday. So I'm trying to make a name for myself locally here. So I've got to do things outside of sports. But that was a 25-year honor wall. So employees that have worked at that bank for 25 years or longer got up there on the wall. And so we wrapped it and put those acrylics and wood plates up, and metal lettering and stuff has turned out pretty cool. So
now on something like that, you go out and install it on site, right?
Yes. Okay. I do a lot of subcontracting on the install. I can do a little bit of damage on the install, but mainly I find people who are more talented. I like to design the concept and be the project manager and make sure everything goes smooth. So.
And so for something like this door wrap from Sabine Cardinals, was that something? Now you did a whole project. It wasn't just that, but even on something like that, do you go out and do it, or do you send it to them?
I did that one. Yep. Okay. And I actually learned on that one, they had a 51-inch, 7 sets of 51-inch windows. If we get much wider than 36 inches, I need to bring a helper because that 40-mile-an-hour wind came down and gave me some trouble. But yes, we're willing to travel. Obviously that involves some cost, so it'll just be a matter of making it worth the client's while. So, Sabine, we wrapped 20 windows that day, so that was justifiable for me to drive, 600 miles that day or whatever it was to go to and from. and get that done. But yes, we're willing to travel. And if not, there's a network of installers we can find close to you. Obviously, when we do stuff like this in Maryland, I have to call people in Baltimore, somebody close. And then the control freak in me hates that because I can't go down there and make sure everything goes smooth. But for the most part, when we've done the out-of-state projects, it's gone okay. One of the first ones you showed of the football player celebrating, it was the blue wall. That was Northwest Community College in Mississippi. Me and a buddy actually flew down to Memphis, shipped the material to the school, and then we installed that in about 36 hours or so. It ran 2 walls, and that was a tough one, man. And we got it done just in time to catch our flight back to Dallas.
Well, so how long if an athletic department does that, how long will that last? Like, how long will that stay up? And I'm, normal wear and tear. And obviously if you try to go and damage it, but just normal wear and tear, what's the time length on that? Years? Decades?
You can see that's cinder block right there. Cinder block is the hardest surface to wrap. And it depends, like you said, kind of hand traffic. The players are running around slapping that a lot. Indoors, you can count on it lasting longer. There's a certain, time frame they tell us to tell like the material provider, and it usually goes longer than that. Like that Sabine, that's actually a window wrap on that door. I did some at Howard Payne in Brownwood, and it's supposed to be 18 to 24 months. It lasted 6 years before I went back and replaced those. Just a few months ago. And they had started to fade a little bit. But if you don't, wrap it in black or anything, when the sun's hitting it, it's not going to fade as much. But I was amazed at how well the window perf held up for them for about 6 years. And then others, it hasn't lasted as long. And then schools with bigger budgets like to replace it. I mean, larger schools replace that stuff every year. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, and you talked earlier about you worked with, you don't just do, banners and stuff. Y'all like I'm about to put up, like y'all do schedule things and things like that. It's physical and virtual that you'll do basically.
Yes. Yeah. And that's a publication right there. That's the back cover when North Texas searched for their new football coach. They kind of had me making that all along. And then when the decision was made to move on and hire a new coach, I mean, I instantly had that out for print. That's a scheduled poster for University of Maryland Eastern Shore baseball. My slogan used to be everything from business cards to building signs. We can do all sorts of printing, but like I've told you, I've kind of tried to focus on the facility overhaul. But I am glad to do this kind of stuff and want to. And in fact, when you guys get your season going, one of the things I'll have ready is I'm marketing like senior gifts for coaches. So basically custom designs on metal print. So it's more classy than like a photo frame or something. Plus you get a custom design and then market that to youth sport parents as well. So.
And as you talked about, you also do non-sports stuff. And I guess that's one of those things when you see a business, you expect signage and you kind of don't even really realize, well, where do they get this signage from? And that's the type of thing you'll do.
Right. I mean, it's just been years of building networks with people who work with people like me to provide a wide array of products. And so pretty much I can't say I have 100% solutions for everyone. Like somebody called me today and asked if I did iron-ons for screen prints, and we don't do apparel. But we do just about everything, and we can find solutions for you.
So how will somebody get a hold of you? And of course, we'll be giving you that information during all of our shows this year. But from your mouth, how can somebody get a hold of you?
Yeah. SIDesign.net. And just a quick history lesson. SID is Sports Information Director. That's what we used to be called. So that was the play there. It used to be called Sports Information Design. And then I shortened it to kind of market towards a larger group because I was only targeting other sports information directors who needed help back in the day. So now it's SIDesign. SIdesign.com wasn't available in 2012. And then one of those URL flippers bought it, and they wanted like 25 grand for it or something. So I'll stick with .net. So SIdesign.net. There's a contact page on there, and then or Kyle at SIdesign.net, and I'll be glad to visit with you.
Uptown got its hustler. Want to thank Bowery got its bumps. 42nd Street got a big. Want to thank Kyle Robarts of SI Design and Printing for joining us here on the show. Again, this is the SI Design and Printing Sideline to Sideline off-season edition. Again, Grant Goodwin and I will be recording a full show here probably the first week of April. A lot of this was to promote Kyle and, of course, SI Design for being title sponsor, but again, also trying to work out some of the kinks on the new equipment. As you can tell by the video, we've got new podcast mics. These are absolutely wonderful. Love the style, love the way they sound too, but love the style of them. But it takes a little bit of time. Got to get used to the cameras. Got to figure out, once you have cameras, you have to have an actual set. Like now, the way Grant and I'll do it will probably be a lot like this. Where it's basically just on us talking. But we'll be able to do things like we were doing with Kyle, where we can, pop up pictures. Like we might get some, action pictures of games that we're actually talking about and things like that. We can even do some video clips and all that. We're going to figure all that out as we get closer to the season. And again, intern Noe and I will be doing a Outdrink the Coverage recording this weekend. First episode out of that will be out next week, and we'll record every 3 weeks, basically 3 episodes at a time, drop them out once a week. And then we're going to be having these coaches shows, as always, of course. And we're going to be doing some off-season ones here on S2S Sport here in the next couple of weeks. So we'll be looking for those. Of course, we'll pop them out on Facebook. All of our stuff on Facebook is basically the same. Find us on Facebook, Sideline to Sideline. Find us on Twitter at Grant and Terry. You can email us now, Terry at S2SSport.com. We will have a show email set up by the time the season runs around. Don't worry about that. Also, if you have been someone that has been emailing us stats and stuff, it will go to a new email now. We will, again, get that out as soon as we get the show email done, but we wanted to let you know. We want to thank Kyle for joining us, and we want to thank you for being title sponsor. L4FR Clothing, they had been title sponsor for so long that when we decided to move over and they become part of the network, L4 Media, there's a little bit of, a little nervousness about, I haven't had to try to really sell this title sponsor in a few years. And I was a little nervous, and Kyle stepped right up and did a great job. And he's now title sponsor for all 3 shows. And I'm very big about, if I'm going to have title sponsor for one show, I just want it to be uniform all the way through. Kyle stepped up, and that's what he's going to do. And for that, I do it. I thank you. And we can't wait to promote SI Design and Printing all year long. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. Again, find us on S2SSport.com. Find us on Twitter at Grant and Terry. Find us on Facebook, Sideline to Sideline. Find us on every podcast platform. We're on them all, as always. And then you can also find us at www.S2ssport.com. Find SI Design and Printing on Facebook. Just type in SI Design and Printing LLC. You can give them a call, 254-405-9492. Email them, info@sidesign.net. Find them on Instagram, Twitter, at SI Design Print. On both of those, you can find them on their website, sidesign.net. Until next time, I'm Terry Bennett, and this has been SI Design and Printing, Sideline to Sideline on S2S Sports Network, part of the L4 Media Company.